What is up? It is time for top DPS of the week, week 5, and holy crap, there was some insane buffs to just about every single class this week. I mean, every single DPS got buffed except for like DK, Shaman, and Mage. All the top 3 did not get buffed, but everyone else did. You're not going to believe how much this affected the DPS rankings this week. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let me pull up the logs for last week so we have it for reference when we're looking at the rankings for this week. Naruber Palace, all bosses, 95th percentile, over a range of 1 week. Last week, we had Fire Mages on top, and holy crap, did the Fire Mages completely fall off. The DKs, Arcane Mages, and the Enhancement Shamans are actually still on top. Enhancement Shaman starting to gap everybody in the overall raid performance. Ret Paladins are up big. Guys, Ret Paladins, how many slots did Ret Paladin jump this week with the buffs? This is nasty. Last week, guys, Ret Paladin, let me zoom in here. Ret Paladin was mid-tier. They're top 4 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots. Ret Paladins jumped up with the buffs that they received this week. That is insane. Nobody and their mom was taking Ret Paladins to Mythic Plus. They damn sure better be taking them to Raid now because that damage is crazy. We're going to have to look how they are on single target as well as AoE and see which one they tend to be better at. I know they have like 30-second cooldowns that make them really strong in Mythic Plus. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. Comparing these, we had BM Hunter on top last week. Marksman has started to gap them. Rogues just came out of nowhere. I mean, look at the rogues. All the rogues were on the bottom of the tier last week. The changes, holy crap. Assassin jumped sub outlaw. They jumped the entire standing here. This is unreal. Assassins went from almost last in the tier to like 6th. Overall for DPS in the 95th percentile. So rogues are back online with the new buffs. BM Hunters still performing well. Havoc Demon Hunters down a couple slots, but still towards the top of the tier. Ellie Shamans and Fire Mages still performing well. Unholy DKs really falling off here, going to mid-pack. And then we have the Arms Warriors staying about the same, top middle tierish. Down a few slots. Warriors still down bad. It's looking like Warriors continue to fall in overall damage, devastation of Evokers and Warlocks and Druids still towards the bottom of the tier when it comes to raid. And Survival Hunter not coming online. However, I think Survival Hunter is doing well in keys. It's just they struggle with surviving the hits. But now that the 12 keys have been dropped from 20% damage to 10% damage, we might start to see more Hunters coming into the meta, depending on how their damage is. And then Shadow Priest moving up a lot of spaces this week. They were 3rd from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shadow Priest moving up 6 slots. So good for Shadow Priest. However, our big 3 are still occupying the top, and then Fire Mage falling the most amount of slots this week. Nearly 8 slots, Fire Mage is falling down to mid-pack from top tier. And I'm wondering if that's because we are starting to get more logs. If we do we have any Queen Ansurek logs this week? We do not. When Queen Ansurek logs hit the Warcraft logs, we should start to have a better idea of how well-rounded the DPS are in this tier. So let's take a look at the 2 target. The Frost DKs are still occupying the top along with Affliction Warlocks and dot classes like Shadow Priests. Arcane Mages somehow able to really hold their own on 2 target, multi-target, and single target. They seem to be pretty well-rounded, as well as Enhancement Shamans. And then Sub Rogue, another dot class, able to kind of keep bleeds and hit 2 targets at the same time. But this might just be pure single target damage, that they might just be hitting 1 target and sort of cleaving when they can. These are our top 2 by far, though. Top 3 classes is going to be for two boss fights is going to be these 3. Okay, let's go to a full single target fight. Let's do the AoE. Let's do Blood Twister. Let's see where our AoE king is right now in the raid. And Unholy Death Knights are passing Frost DKs in AoE cleave now, followed by Fury Warriors. This is nuts to me that Unholy DKs came out of nowhere. How are both Frost and Unholy DKs, the best consistent cleave damage in the entire game. That to me is a bit off with the class design, in my personal opinion. But hey, if you are a DK, you are absolutely a monster at just cleaving and having consistent damage. Fury Warriors used to be the king. However, they've been nerfed too many times, but they are starting to climb back a little bit, and they are still very viable on the Brood Twister fight, being in the top 3 classes, and then Balance Druid with all of its buffs hanging in there for the top caster for AoE DPS for consistent damage. Demonology, Frost Mage, and then Ret Paladins. Ret Paladins are looking very good as well for AoE damage now this week with all of their buffs. So starting to see that Ret Paladins are coming online is good for a lot of people that are playing that class. Okay, let's check out the pure single target fight of the raid, Sikrin. And it was BM Hunter on top for a long time. Arcane and Enhanced still top single target. And holy crap, Ret Paladins are even number 4 on single target damage now. Their buffs made them absolutely insane. They just came out of nowhere. They were not anywhere near this on top single target damage last week, I don't believe. I mean, I can double check really fast, but I just don't think that they were for Sikrin. Let's take a look at Sikrin from last week. Ret Paladins were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Ret Paladins were actually 7th overall in single target damage, and they've climbed a couple of slots this week up to number 4. So they actually climbed about 4 slots or 3 slots, which is not as much as I thought they did, but the new Ret Paladin buffs are definitely starting to come online, and we're starting to see them being way more viable here in the raid now. I wonder how that'll apply to Mythic Plus. And then the first 2 bosses really don't matter because they die too quickly. Enhancement Shamans are going to be, and Ellie Shamans are top for that. And then Frost DK, Demon Hunter, and Mages are still top for the first fight. Like I said, we're still waiting on Queen Ansurek logs to come in so we can really figure out the meta and figure out who is the overall DPS kings. But right now, it looks like a great time to be a Frost DK in this expansion. And any type of Shaman and an Arcane Mage are still really holding their own in overall DPS. And now Ret Paladins are even kind of coming out of nowhere. It seems like Ret Paladins really just struggle on the 2 target. They're really good at 1 target. They're pretty good at AoE. How do Ret Paladins do on Brood Twister? Yeah, they still hold their own in AoE on consistent AoE damage over a long period of time. It's just that DKs have the highest, burst and consistent damage potential for AoE fights. So let's see if the meta has changed at all for Mythic Plus this week. Let's take a look at the timed run leaderboards. And oh my goodness, Rogue in the top 3. Casual Addict is holding it down for the Rogue. Speed of Life, a lot of Rogues coming out of nowhere. And Outlaw Rogue in the top 29 keys in the world. And Casual Addict really just showing that Assassination Rogue can time pretty much any key with the right group. Looks like they have a Protection Warrior to probably to provide a double melee battle shout buff here for the Frost DK and the Assassin Rogue, and then they have the Balance Druid running double battle res with one Balance Druid, which I like. 1 range DPS and 2 melees is a good meta, or unless you're running an Aug Evoker and a Mage, which most people seem to be doing. Now, this is a new comp right here. Arcane Mage, Balance Druid, Assass Rogue. We did not see these last week. This is the first time that I've seen this comp kind of come online. Most comps last week sort of needed an Augment Evoker to even survive in a 12 key, which is why you see so many Aug Evokers. But this week, this is starting to show that the tank meta is still very much... wow, actually, wait a second. Prot Paladins got insane amounts of buffs, and you are starting to see Prot Paladins all over the top 100 keys now. Yoda, we have a Russian tank, Nubidin. These guys are all over. And Dwarf. There's 5 Prot Paladins now in the top 100 keys in the world. 6 if you count the 5 with the Russian tank. So, dude, this is good news for tanks. These paladin buffs that came online must have been really good, because Paladins were not even seen at all in the past weeks, and now look at them. I mean, they're just all over the place. And we still have Guardian, Druid, Prot Warrior, and Demon Hunter, of course, with no DKs in the top 40 keys. But we have one DK, Gopnik, holding it down for the Blood DKs, and Fizzy, and that's it. We have 2 Blood DKs in the top 100 keys in the world. But we do have a lot of DKs that are timing 14 still. So, just because they're not in the top 100 doesn't mean that they're not viable. And then we have one Brewmaster Monk. I would just say that they're probably not as meta because Frost DK is absolutely meta. I think just about every single team in the world is running a Frost DK. There's just literally Banchers is the only team that isn't running a Frost DK, and Banchers runs his own team built around a Hunter because no one really plays Hunters in Mythic Plus because they just don't have survivability to live through most of the hits. This is very interesting. So this week, I would say Rogue stocks are way up. Prot Paladins making the biggest come up, and then it's looking like Priests, Discipline Priests are starting to show a lot here. I wonder if it's on a certain key. No, Miss, Arakara, Grim Batol. I would have thought you'd see a lot of Priests on Siege of Borealis to do the Dispel. One Mass Dispel, one regular Dispel, but you actually are starting to see a lot of Discipline Priests here. I wonder who they're giving their PI to. Probably the Mage in this group or the Boomkin during the cooldowns. And are they running a specific comp? Honestly, Frost DK, they might just be PIing the DK. And then they're taking an Enhancement Shaman for that consistent damage. So this is a popular comp here. Enhanced Shaman, Frost DK, Aug Evoker. And this is a new comp. I haven't really seen this one much. Paired with the Prot Paladin, a lot of people in the top 10 now are running this comp. Aug Enhanced Frost DK. The old meta was Frost Mage, Aug, Unholy DK from C Mage's group, and they're actually still doing very well, the Chinese team. But this new meta, also this one, Casual Addicts group, Frost DK, Asa Rogue, Balance Druid. There's several new comps appearing in the top page of Raider.io this week. So this is great to see. Even Banchers holding it down on the Marksman Hunter with the Fury Warrior Outlaw Rogue. They're running a melee comp, of course, with the Resto Shaman and a Guardian Druid. So this is good news. A lot of good class balances coming in, making some classes viable this week with the hot fixes. I'll put a link to all the hot fixes in the comments below. And every week we'll be reviewing the changes to the classes with the balancing and going over some of the buffs. If you like these videos, make sure you hit subscribe and check me out on twitch.tv/Stardalco. I'll see you next week.